needs to apologize to Kenyans for lying. And in civilized places, William Ruto should have tendered his resignation. I can tell you this country is sinking. We are coming to the bottom. And I can see this economy of ours, if we are not careful, collapsing in another 4 to 6 months.
Then I want to
total collapse of an economy, because we're being led by people who have very little brains. How can people waste time, public funds, a whole day meeting to discuss this sort of nonsense?
So if you look at this,
because this is nonsense. What is this? What have they come up with that is so concrete that they will not even have done on phone? What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house. This is not Kosgei. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
A very good day to you. Welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted. My name is Jadiel Kabiro for this conversation, a conversation which I hope will help our leaders make better policy decisions and informed political moves. The government is seeking to exit the government-to-government oil deal, says, look, we're not making any difference when it comes to the cost of fuel here in Kenya. President William Ruto promised that the foreign exchanging Kenya shillings to dollars will actually reduce to below 120 shillings. Right now it is at 160 shillings. What went wrong with the G2G? We'll also talk about Felix Kosgei, head of public service, who says that people are overworking, not going on leaves, some even 2 years, working too hard, but says this looks like an avenue for corruption. President William Ruto on Monday met Koome, talking about corruption in the judiciary. So much to talk about. We're taking a look at state of the nation, what is happening in the country, why are things not working? Are the guidelines that the president is promising, proposals together with the arms of government, going to make any difference? This is our conversation today with Philip Kisia, former Nairobi town clerk, leadership and governance expert, is here with me. We're going to talk about all this in today's show. Thank you for tuning in, for sharing. If you're not part of this conversation, you know someone who's not part of this conversation, let them know that we are here every Thursday and Friday to make this country better. PK, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jadiel. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's an amazing conversation we're going to have because we're going to tackle a lot of things today.
Well, it's going to be hot.
Going to be hot.
Oh, yes.
Hot for who? I hope it's not going to be hot for me. There's a time you almost punched me. So this time we've made you sit further kidogo from me.
No, the discussion will hit you up. be ready to be roasted.
Let me prepare myself for this one. But look, we're talking about government-to-government deal with Saudi Arabia. The government says, look, it is distorting the forex market. It has admitted to failure. Raila Odinga called it a scam right on the onset. Said this is a scam because this procurement, these distributors, why are they distributing even in Kenya? We have companies here that can work. From the onset, you saw it. We didn't talk about it, but you saw it. Was it ever practical?
Jadiel, allow me, because I'm mourning, allow me to first of all pass condolences to my cousins, the family of the Maiti. We lost our mama, Mama Agneta Maiti. She has now gone to heaven to meet Mama Kisia, Mama Jirongo, Mama Simani. So we are now all total orphans. Those of us who come from the land of Tiriki. But that is God's wish, and may the Almighty God comfort the Maiti family. Now, and today, when I was thinking about this discussion today, something that struck me was the comment that I got from my daughter, Ivana, who's only turned 12 in January. I also turned 61 this month. So we share the same month. And she's 12, but she told me, Daddy, how come people in Kenya, particularly those in political leadership, don't want to be held accountable? How come, Daddy? And he said, Dad, you're also a political leader. Anything you do or you say, you must be held to account, including picking us from school on time and dropping us home on time. I happen to have been 5 minutes late, and they say, we must hold you to account. you are late. You promised to be here by this time, you have failed. Please also learn, as you push other people to be accountable, learn to be accountable. Now look at that. That's something on very micro level. But this little girl is asking me to be accountable for my actions. Now again, Jadiel, because the matter is very, very weighty. We talk about accountability. And for those of us who have been given a chance to continue living on this earth called Kenya, there is need for us to inspire the people of Kenya. Therefore, allow me today to read this, and I'm quoting from Proverbs 31, 8 to 9. And it is, speak up. For those who cannot speak for themselves, ensure justice for those being crushed. They miss the word Ruto. But they're saying, for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless, and see that they get justice. That is not me. My president reads the Bible. Can he read this chapter and verse? It is in Proverbs. He will get it there. Now, let us now get to the topic today.
Brethren PK, where are you taking us?
Let us get to the topic. But before then, I want you to replay, because it's important that we continue reminding His Excellency William Ruto that he's a total liar, he is incompetent, that he has failed, and he has never spoken truthfully. Look for that clip where he talks about these oil marketing companies and the cartels and the exchange rate coming down. Look for that clip.
And it is not for me to say it is working or not. I want to challenge the speculators and the agents of the cartels to go and speak to the oil marketing companies in Kenya, to go and speak to the players in Kenya, instead of the speculation, rumor mongering, scamming that is going on. I want to assure them that the fishing they are doing for a scandal in this administration, they are not about to succeed. They can speculate, imagine, dream about a scam. That is how far they can go. They will be able to buy our products, fuel products, in Kenya shillings. And it will remove pressure on our dollars. In fact, in the next 1 month or so, you will see dollars coming down, the exchange rate coming down in a very phenomenal way. In fact, in my estimation, in the next couple of months, the dollars will come, the exchange rate will come below 120 shillings. Maybe 115, you never know.
You listen to President William Ruto says we're going to trade at below 120, actually at 115.
You know, first of all, because we've listened to the clip, let's look at this, dissect this G2G thing. This was the biggest scam of the century. First of all, there's no government to government here. This was William Ruto's administration with some private entity in the Middle East that got into an arrangement. Because this is not how, where is that contract? How come the Kenyans have never been shown that contract for them to interrogate? There was no government involved here. There was a side of government called the Kenya Kwanza administration and some arrangement in Middle East. Okay? So it is the biggest scam that ever happened. It makes Goldenberg and the other one was called what? Goldenberg and the other?
Anglo-leasing.
Anglo-leasing. Yeah. it makes them, look like small little babies. Child's play. This thing is huge. And sometimes when William Ruto talks about fighting corruption, I doubt whether he's really committed. But anyway, I've said it's a scam. The intentions were good. The motives behind it were only known to William Ruto. But some of us who can read through him, we knew that it was bound to fail. This thing, the way it was crafted in a manner to make sure that people pocket billions of shillings under the disguise that we come up with a brilliant solution to sort out the oil marketing crisis, to sort out the exchange rate, to stabilize the currency. The reverse happened.
Yeah.
What has happened is the reverse. Because I say the objective was noble. That, we have scarcity of foreign currency, there's pressure on the dollar, the government is broke. We must find a very ingenious way of sorting out this particular problem. But the people who are thinking through, and I don't blame the technocrats, they must have given him sound advice, but he took the opposite direction. Now, he himself, as a president of the Republic of Kenya, promised Kenyans that because of that brilliant idea that he has come up with, or a team of 4, and the names were mentioned, brilliant idea, that in a couple of months, the dollar will do what? Will exchange at about 115, 110.
Yes.
And even mentioned God's name. He was mentioning God's name in vain, like he always does anyway. Okay?
Yeah.
There was no economics, there was nothing. This is it's actually corruption.
There's no economics?
There was nothing, it's just corruption. Because how come 7 months, or going to 8 months, after he signed this brilliant thing, after he came up with this brilliant idea, the dollar now is exchanging. Go and buy a dollar from the bank. We are now buying a dollar at 167.
Not 161.
167. Go and buy a dollar today.
Today?
Go to any commercial bank.
It's 161. Really?
It is 167. Go to any commercial bank. Go to bureaus. I think bureaus are they're doing at about 164. And I can tell you the projection is, because I don't see any brilliancy in Ruto's leadership style, I don't see any brilliancy in anything he does. The dollar by December will be exchanging at not less than 215. Now, yes, by December this year. Now, because I can't see anything that he has done that will reverse that situation. So you see, William Ruto, if he was somebody who believed in accountability, like my daughter reminded me, by now he should not be giving us excuses. We know the price of barrel, price of a barrel has come down. We know that we are the only ones still buying oil and its products at very exorbitant prices. Where is this G to G deal that was supposed to stabilize the currency, that was supposed to make sure that now Kenyans enjoy purchase of fuel at 100 bob? It was a scam. This man, based on that alone, he needs to explain to Kenyans what has happened. Other than just giving us excuses, telling us that, there's a war here, there was a war. These wars are there. The external operating environment is not just, is not just affecting Kenya alone. It is affecting the entire globe. So why is it that it's only Kenya which is facing this crisis?
Isn't admitting failure the first step towards
the right direction? He has not. Where can you show me a clip where William Ruto admitted that I failed? He has not admitted. He has not apologized to Kenyans. He needs to apologize to Kenyans for lying. And in civilized places, William Ruto should have tendered his resignation. He should tell us either the difference, because the crude oil prices have come down. He should tell us whether that money is being pocketed by a few people, himself and a few people around him. He should tell Kenyans. Okay? Because the statement was not our statement, it was his statement. He is the one, as head of state, who has all the briefs from technocrats And he announced to Kenyans that this is what will happen by taking this action. So there are only two things that could have happened here. Heavy corruption going on, people pocketing billions of shillings, or just having incompetent fellows holding office. But I can tell you, incompetence is one thing, but I can tell you it's about people pocketing billions of shillings in this deal.
So you're saying that they have pocketed and now they have left the deal?
They have not left. They had said, okay, because this arrangement was, the first 6 months, we were supposed to have, entered into a 6-month arrangement. The 6 months lapsed. There are so many challenges, including our regional customers, like Uganda and what have you, saying, no, wait a minute, we are not going to take this nonsense. The crude oil prices are coming down. You are so expensive. We are not going to be part of your corruption. So we shall look for alternatives. And the alternatives were there. Tanzania is an alternative. Okay? So, you see, the domestic consumption of fuel and fuel products has come down. Okay? Because, of course, the cost of fuel has gone up. Our market regionally has shrunk. So we are facing so many challenges.
Because Tanzania now is a destination hub for investment. We are losing.
Of course, we've lost, and we shall continue losing. And you see the other challenges that we're not being told about. The rolling over of these risks.
Yeah.
So what they have done, the 6 months, they are unable to pay. They did not consume they are not consumed the fuel they are projected in the first 6 months. So they are just rolling over the risk to the second half. So they have asked for another 6 months. What are they going to do to change the dynamics? What are they going to do that is so brilliant that will change anything? I can tell you this country is sinking. We are coming to the bottom. And I can see this economy of ours, if we are not careful, collapsing in another 4 to 6 months.
Then I want to
total collapse of an economy, because we're being led by people who have very little brains.
The big question is Ruto aware of the dynamics that play when it comes to trading Kenya shillings against the dollar? Because he comes promises. I think it's back then I was interviewing Manyora and he told me, let us see if we will ever buy oil in Kenya shillings abroad. And now it seems like this has actually failed. Is he aware of the dynamics?
You see, Jadiel, he's not an economist. So please let us go slow on him. Because he's not one, he's a botanist. But he has advisors. And the president is not a master of everything. You cannot be a master in all those things. So you depend on and you rely on profession. And I can tell you, the public service in this country has people who are extremely highly qualified. In fact, most of the people who leave Treasury end up in IMF, World Bank, and vice versa. So we are not short of qualified people. We are short in only one area. We have somebody who does not listen, somebody who does not take advice, somebody who knows it all. So most probably he was given sound advice, but he decided to listen to himself. And that is why we are in the crisis that we are facing today. Okay? Can you imagine where Kenya was? You say Uhuru Kenyatta, you blame Uhuru Kenyatta. Now you realize that Kenyans are tired of Uhuru Kenyatta being blamed. Now you pick another on judiciary to blame. I don't know, the third one maybe will be Kisia and others. Okay?
We'll talk about the judiciary later.
Listen, Kenya's currency right now is the second worst performing currency in the world. It has never happened that way. Since independence, we are the bottom.
Yeah.
We are number 2 from the bottom. And you expect a miracle in the near future? What is awaiting this country is doom and collapse. Nothing, there's nothing.
Your friend, government spokesperson Isaac Mora, in November 2023, said, look, they're painting the cabinet secretaries for the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Treasury, along with affiliates, in bad light. Raila called for the resignation because of this same G2G oil deal. Do you agree with Isaac Mora now, looking at things?
You know, and I've told you this before, Jadiel. I don't know why I keep on bringing my friend Isaac Mora, because he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and when he wants to talk honestly, he can. But you know, Isaac Mora has a job, and he needs a job. So he must speak what the master wants him to speak. He may not even have the facts, but he has been given some paper and said, go and read this statement. So I will not take Isaac Mora very seriously, because you know, he's actually you know, a playing tune for the master. And do you expect anything? Do you expect anything better than what Mora said? No, because everything he said has, I mean, come to pass now. That Raila, you know, that Raila's statement was a statement of fact. It was backed by facts. While the government, which has every, you know, it has the technical competence to carry out research, they have intelligence, they have everything, but they continue lying. So, and you see, Nani Jadiel, when you see this guy called IMF coming and knocking on your door,
Right now they are hitting the president for
and they now come up, they give you something called extended fund facility, EFF, not the one from Malema. Then they give something called extended credit fund. You are in ICU. You're just in ICU. You know, they are buying time. In fact, you are dead. You know, like when, but you know, sometimes when you're, I'm sorry for those, sometimes when you find yourself in that situation, you have a patient in ICU. The doctors are telling you that this guy is on a life support. Can we switch off the machines? Because the person is as good as dead. But you insist. What happens? You keep on incurring bills over bills until the bills cannot be paid anymore. So we actually, Kenya as a country, is in ICU. It is dead. It is finished. And people are finished. Yeah, whatever was left. Now, IMF just, you know, putting us on life support machine.
EFF.
When they switch off EFF and ECF, when they switch off, oh my God, the next second will be dead.
You know, when we're having this conversation, I'm reminded of the chairperson of the economic advisors, David Ndii, says the same thing about ICU. He says same thing about the hospital. This country is like people in a hospital. You can come out alive actually in surgery or come out dead. And you look at G2G, it has failed. Isn't David Ndii right saying, look, we can try this and it can fail and then we try other strategies?
You see, I like David Ndii most of the times for his honesty, sometimes a bit rough. He has no emotions, but they should know they're dealing with people. The Kenyans are not machines. So their way of communicating needs to be a bit subtle, you know, a bit humane. You get my point? Yeah. Because we have feelings, especially when we are hurting and we're in pain. Okay? The truth of the matter is that Kenya is in ICU, and I agree with my friend David. Okay? But they are the advisors to the president, and they're earning big salaries, driving big cars, you know, and everything is big for them. They are there not to remind us about the pain. They should be telling us the solutions. The pain we're already suffering. Don't remind us about the pain. Give us the solutions. And if they can't, if our people like David Ndii, since actually what they have said, have given up, they have thrown their hands in the air. This is a government that should have resigned voluntarily. They should go home. Let them pack and go home. Let them give a chance to people who can exercise better leadership. You have seen the president of Benin. It's called what? Tolo? Look at the transformation this man has done in the last few years to Benin. He's building houses without taxing fellows, or rather overtaxing people. The infrastructure in Benin, I mean, there's a tremendous improvement on infrastructure in the last about 8 years or less. And here, in 1.5 years, is suffering after suffering. I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, sometimes I feel pity for this country.
Before we even talk about the other conversations that we're planning to talk about, what is the solution? You know, you look at this oil deal, you look at the cost of fuel, you look at trying to stabilize the shilling, and now call to action. What should be done ASAP? Even yesterday, it should have been done so that we fix all these issues, because it seems like you're prophesying doom by December.
You see, Ruto's experiment has failed flat. Let him do the honorable thing. Let us get back, because the experiment has failed totally. Let him now ensure that the technocrats develop monetary policies that can cushion us from oil shocks or the changes, in the world, the global changes. The policies must be reintroduced. The policies need to be reviewed, because the policies they currently are rolling out, the policies they put in place seem to have failed Kenyans and failed this government. I don't fail Kenyans, they have failed this government. So what can they do? First of all, Ruto is a very strange man. On one side, he's saying government is not the business of government to do business. Okay? And I agree with him to a large extent. Government is a regulator. Government is a facilitator. Government is just there to make sure that the operating environment for private sector is thriving, it is fair, and people can do business. Okay? The government should regulate the market. Or sometimes encourage self-regulation. And they monitor. So what they need to do as government is to go back to where we were. Oil marketing companies to tender. Yeah? To tender for oil. Let them invest. And if there's any guarantees, of course, then the Kenya government is there to give the necessary guarantees. But this attempt of trying to do business is not actually business. This strategy they're using to siphon public funds, to make billions of shillings at the expense of Kenyans, will cost William Ruto.
Is there a quick way, though? Because it seemed like this was going to be a quick way of fixing the economy.
No, listen, Anani, it's simple. You know, we've done it before. Go back to what we're doing. Yeah. This space is for oil marketing companies. Let it be. After all, if the intention was to make money, which I suspect very highly it was, they have made enough money. And we estimate from where we sit, we estimate that these characters have been making 5 to 6 billion shillings in terms of commission every month. Yes. Yeah, of course.
Estimation based on what?
We have ways of working out this, Jadiel. And you see, because otherwise the price of the commodity would have come. Why is it still high? Why people still suffer? You know, you've made a promise to Kenyans. Because of this brilliant action I'm taking, I'm bringing down the cost of crude oil, oil and oil products. It has failed. But we've had it before. Before him, the other presidents. They are using. So why can't you go back to those strategies as you think for another new brilliant strategy that will be better than Uhuru Kenyatta's? Because Uhuru Kenyatta allowed the oil marketing companies to tender. And we never saw at any point gas and any petrol at gas stations hitting 200 bob. At never. And now, we are actually, the world crude oil prices have come down. Why should we be buying a liter at 200 plus?
The president says now you're not seeing queues in petrol stations. So
yeah, because nobody's buying. Nobody's buying. I mean, this is very misinformed. Nobody's buying the product.
Nobody's buying.
Nobody's buying. There's no one to buy. There's no money to buy. There's nobody to buy. The vehicles are parked home. People are suffering. Yes.
I want us to talk about incompetence for a while. You're saying they should resign and go home. But Head of Public Service Felix Kosgei says they should actually take their leave days. They are overworking. But also seems to think that if someone is staying in office for this long, it's an avenue for corruption. In fact, he says there are people working for government, public servants who have stayed they have accumulated over 2 years of leave days. Says before the next financial year, actually by June 30th, 2024, you can only carry forward a maximum of 15 leave days. He says they will not be able to convert these leave days into monetary compensation. I want to talk about this for a while, because this conversation, for people thinking, my father, who is a public servant, goes to office every day, has been working for over 5 years without any leave days. Is it that, Kisia, we have too many public holidays for people to take some rest or take their leave days? And how is accumulation of leave days in public office or public servants an avenue for corruption?
You see, Jadiel, I have had the privilege of working in the private sector for more than 2.5 decades. I had the privilege of working for public sector for about 7 years. Okay? So I know how the two worlds operate. In private sector, you cannot actually, because the HR manuals in place, which we follow to the latter. There is no way you'll be allowed to carry forward your leave days. You must go and rest. Because it is for your good health. You also give the people below you, the people you're training or you're mentoring to take over from you. How do you give them that opportunity if you just keep on hanging in the office? Now, in fact, that's not my problem, because you see, the Kenya Civil Service or Public Service has policies that are well grounded. The failure is not the regulations and the policies. The failure is the people who are in the office. They don't implement. Okay? I've had Felix Kosgei talk very well about, people proceeding on leave. I've heard the president talk about the same thing. But why are they not being implemented? Sometime last year, His Excellency the President talked about people who have attained the age of 60 going home. I can tell you, without any fear, that there are some people whose contracts have been extended beyond 60.
Even after the president?
Even after the president himself made that pronouncement. Even after Aisha Juma wrote letters, which I have copies of those letters, saying that if you have attained 60, for heaven's sake, go home and rest. The other things we can do. Okay? Now, you live in a country where you are being governed by somebody who is not enforcing his own policy statements. These fellows have not allowed the people, the things to continue as business as usual. But I can tell you, Jadiel, they have also renewed contracts of those old fogies. Okay? Why have they renewed contracts of people who are beyond 60?
Why?
Yes, and then they talk about, it's an avenue for corruption. They must be the ones who are corrupt. Because why would you extend contracts? So now, talking about leave days, our policies, public service regulations are so clear. You cannot roll over more than 15 days. And I'll give you an example. When I took over leadership of City Hall, I found people with 500 days leave, 300 days leave. And I asked, first of all, it's unhealthy for a human being not to take rest, break. Why are you in the office? Don't you have people below you? And what about, and if you think you are indispensable, what about if you die one day? Because possible you can die. You're a human being. You're not a piece of metal. You can die and we bury you. And life will go on. Why do you stick in that office? And you know what I did? I mean, I didn't just talk the way these fellows are talking. The president just saying, if you're 60, you must go home. Head of public service, blah, blah, and you take leave. You know what I did? Bring all the files in my office. Bring them. How many days does Jadiel have? 300 days. Send him on the first 100 days. Next, home. I took action. So why is the head of public service not taking that action?
But he said
he must tell the public why he has failed to take that. Because it's good to make that pronouncement publicly for transparency purposes. Follow that with the circular. But I'm afraid that these circulars are not even respected. They don't even respect the circulars themselves. These circulars are there. Why are they not? I'm telling you, Jadiel, when you see somebody refusing to go on leave, and the boss is even encouraging, and the boss is failing to take action, is an avenue for corruption. But my disappointment is there is Auditor General who should flag out these issues and say, these characters are supposed to have gone on leave, they're not going on leave. It's an exposure to the corporation or to the government. There is Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that should also be held to account. Why haven't they exposed these matters? Why haven't they taken action? Yeah? So it is a gravy train for all of them. We live in a country that is so corrupt that even nothing, people just make sure that nothing works.
So this is how we lose our
billions. Hot air.
This is how we lose billions of shillings.
Of course.
By permanent public
You
servants.
have, in state corporations, you have boards. During Kibaki's time, we had competent boards. People knew what they were supposed to be doing. People are on performance contracts. And part of the contract would say that you cannot accumulate leave days. You must put in the report. Now, the performance contract is just a matter of, I think people just say for the sake of saying it, not even a formality, for the sake of saying, for the sake of appearing to be good, for the sake of appearing to be like a Mwai Kibaki. You're not a Mwai Kibaki. Because you're failing in every aspect.
So I want us to talk about this. So if you say we are not going to to have commutation of leave days into money, how much will this save our economy? Because some people will say, this is just some pennies, just give them some money. And
no, my friend, you see, it is not even, can you measure health?
No.
Your own health?
No, you can't.
Do you want to work until you're buried? It's about even your personal health, individual health. Number two is about giving the people below you a chance to grow because they act. And you only gain experience by working. The other thing is when you see these characters refusing kabisa to go and leave, okay, there's eating going on. Heavy eating going on.
They have to be on standby.
So their worry is, if I go and leave and Jadiel comes in, he will definitely know where I have been eating. And we are not sure whether Jadiel will smoke you out in the 30 days that you're away or 60 days. He may smoke you out. So you just want to stay there, and eventually when you cannot completely work, you go home, or when you die, then you go to your creator. This should not be allowed where sound management is being practiced, where the policies and regulations are set in the Public Service Act are being implemented.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a corruption. Why talk, go to barazas and make statements that are not followed through? They must make statements and follow through the statements. As simple as that.
As we wind up this conversation about state of the nation, taking a look, because most of the things we've talked about actually are about corruption. It's all about corruption in the judiciary. President William Ruto met CJ Martha Koome together with Speaker Moses Wetangula, Deputy CJ Philomena Mwilu, Attorney General Justin Muturi, Solicitor General Shadrach Mose. All this because of Ruto's allegations of the hijacked judiciary, called it judicial tyranny. They met and agreed that in 30 days, each arm of government, including a parliament, will submit proposals to the National Council of Administration of Justice, convened by Martha Koome, all about policies, guidelines, regulations, and legislative proposals aimed at fighting corruption. After the meeting, they also agreed budgetary allocations will be made to the judiciary, which will help in adding additional 25 judges in the High Court and recruitment of 11 new judges. Also provide resources to conclude the vehicle leasing program to the judiciary. Kisia, we talked about this last week. President meeting Koome, you said they shouldn't meet, but they did. And the president made his allegations, but it seems like they did not talk about this. At least from what we know, President William Ruto did not give any substantive evidence with regards to the judges who are corrupt. With this meeting, you saw the meeting, it came, and they have now agreed they will meet. Do you think this is the step towards the right direction? Let's talk meet and see where what the president wants us to do.
Jadiel, first of all, in a civilized state, because we are a state, this type of meetings are well defined in the Constitution. How the three governments are independent but interdependent. They can work together for the common good of this nation. So nobody is against the three arms of government meeting as equal partners, but still respecting the fact that we are a state and there's a head of state. But here we had a situation where one arm of government is hell-bent on muzzling the other arms of government. In fact, parliament is finished, we have no parliament. And that is in the public domain. We know we have no parliament. Okay, even a small child going to kindergarten will tell you we have no parliament. So the only institution that was left was the judiciary, where you and me and any other person can go and litigate and seek for justice. Okay? Including the executive. But you have a president who believes he's the alpha and omega. Everything starts from him and ends with him. That it is either his way or the highway. That is William Ruto. Unfortunately for him, we're operating under Constitution 2010 that defines and spells out the functions of each arm of government. The judiciary is supposed to be independent. It's supposed to inspire confidence to the public. It's supposed to be impartial. It's supposed to remain fair and dispense justice in accordance with the Constitution. So, if William Ruto, who is a Kenyan citizen, has any complaints against the judiciary, they are laid out procedures. He should formally write to the Judicial Service Commission and file his complaint. But we have a man who is going to public barazas and funerals and roadsides and accusing one arm of government of being corrupt and incompetent. If there's any arm of government that is incompetent and corrupt, it is actually the executive. They have shown and displayed all manners of incompetence and corruption. And we have many cases we can take them on. Mama Pima this, Mama Pima Mboga oil and what have you, and many other things. KEMSA and many other things. So if there's corruption to be dealt with, it is to be dealt with in the executive. Let him first of all deal with his own challenges before he pretends that he can oversight another arm of government. So the other thing that this meeting has done, in my view, it has eroded public confidence. Because the man who is calling you for a meeting is a litigant, is a complainant who has refused to complain officially. He's refused. And he's a Kenyan. Before the law, he is not above the law. He's just like you and me. But he refused, but he goes around barazas and so on and so forth. What about the threat on checks and balances? Because this arm, the way the Constitution was drafted, was to make sure that no arm of government exceeds the powers that you've been given to operate from. Okay? So who ensures that the checks and balances, if you really go into bed together and you are so tight and you're having tea and mandazis and, talking about, having a meeting that is not well structured, that just one fellow is crying like a baby and making noise until you say, okay, let me go and listen. Well, let me take some steps to make sure this baby stops crying. Then the other thing, and it's extremely dangerous. When these three arms of government meet in such an environment, is an avenue for corruption. I'm telling you. Because when you live there and you go with a bakuli, you are going to beg on a begging mission. I say, now we want, motor vehicles, we want this one, we want, the president has absolute no powers over the judiciary. Okay? The judiciary has clearly spelled out functions. Let the judiciary do its job. Let the Judicial Service Commission do its job. Once they have done a budget, the budget is then submitted to Parliament. Okay? It is once Parliament has approved, the Treasury, which is supposed to be an independent office, Treasury should allocate the resources. Where does the president come in? Saying, oh, we shall support, we shall facilitate. Where does he come in? Who told him he has got his own funds that he can allocate like eggs from Sugoi?
If the question...
Who told him? Who told him? These are public funds. For heaven's sake. Yeah. Now, finally, on that particular matter, Jadiel, she and judiciary in general, because she's the head of judiciary, they have only listened to one side. They have listened to the executive. What about the opposition? They have got issues. What about the people of Kenya who are represented by the opposition also? They have got issues. When will they be given a chance to air their views? Because now it has opened up that avenue. That when your baby crying, you can baby cry in public and you can be listened to. This meeting was a scam, and I read the communique from the government spokesperson, Hussein, my good friend, young man. He's a good man, but he has to earn a living. Look at, they say this is the outcome of a very serious meeting, 3 arms of government. Yeah. The outcome, very quickly, saying they agreed, that corruption remains and is a threat to the national whatever, and it is stopping and sabotaging the much needed transformation. That is administrative. The other outcome is they agreed to fight corruption. That is not in their preview. There's a ESCC. The executive legislature and judiciary agree individually to do policies, guidelines. Yeah. These already are there. These policies are there. Yeah. Guidelines are there. The Judicial Service Commission and the judiciary have got their own policies. And I can even tell you, even the executive have their own policies. I'm sure even Parliament has their own policies and guidelines are spelled out in the acts of Parliament that we have. Then you have ESCC that helps you to build capacity. These are useless things that can be dealt. These are administrative issues that you not even have. Then I don't within 30 days to produce a report. How can people waste time, public funds, a whole day meeting to discuss this sort of nonsense?
So if you look at this...
Because this is nonsense. What is this? What have they come up with that is so concrete that they will not even have done on phone? Just, okay,
this is why you're saying...
the outcome, I can tell you this is, it's hogwash.
I'm asking because if you look at this and 3 arms of government have met, is this what you say an avenue for corruption? If this is...
Look at this. What is here? Jadiel, what is this? This is, this is kindergarten stuff.
There's commitment to allocate budgetary support for the judiciary.
That's what I'm telling you. There's nothing like commitment.
Involving...
There's nothing like commitment. We must remind William Ruto, there's nothing like commitment here. There is a laid-down procedure for budgeting. This arm of government has budgeted. It has been taken to Parliament. They have interrogated the budget. They have passed a budget. The next thing that should be done is for the Treasury to look for the funds and allocate. Not actually allocate. Actually, allocate the funds. Where somebody is living in the past. That it's not your money. You have no power to allocate anything. All other institutions have done their work. So Parliament has done their work.
For some, they claim this is a win for the CJ.
Which win?
Others, they say, how do you combat corruption through increased budgetary support?
You see, let's not just look at resources, because even manpower, the judges is a resource. And we need more judges so that we can dispense of justice in a more efficient and effective manner. I have no problem with that one. My issue is, where does the executive come in this matter?
Yeah.
Where do they come in? Is this what they want to discuss? This is kindergarten stuff. Leave it to kindergarten children.
We have to round up because we're having quite a long show today. But what frameworks PK, what frameworks from where you sit, if you're saying the president is acting like a baby who has to be lapsed by the CJ,
yeah.
What framework should be put in place when you have two arms of government seeming like one arm is attacking the other? Is it all about meeting and talking and coming up with these documents and then everyone is comfortable? Raila saying this is obviously an avenue for compromising the judiciary. I think it is Raila says, one of the Azimio leaders, that one of these judges that will be appointed will actually be one to favor the executive. How do you deal with this kind of intergovernment disputes?
You see, Jadiel, the Constitution foresaw that there can be a situation where the three arms of government are not agreeing.
Yeah.
And disagreement is very normal. But you must disagree to agree. As I said, when I state, there is no problem in the three arms of government meeting. Because that is what civilized people do. When there is need to meet, have it structured and let it operate within the confines of the Constitution. So I would say, Jadiel, in the interest of time, let everybody follow the Constitution. It's a small book. Thank God, judiciary, those are most of them are advocates of the High Court of Kenya. We respect them. The executive has the AG, it has the Solicitor General who can advise. Let them follow the Constitution. It is as simple as that.
Follow the Constitution and all will be well.
Correct.
Thank you for tuning in to State of the Nation. Philip Kisia, unscripted, says Ruto thinks he's the alpha and omega. He is not, has called for these leaders to resign because of the government-to-government oil deal. Tells public servants to take their leave days. They are compromising the government. Philip, final word this Thursday.
Let me end that there's hope.
There's hope.
There's hope for this country, and particularly the youth of this country should not lose hope. This is your country. Do everything it takes to protect this country. William Ruto will not do it for you, do it for yourselves.
Till we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your time.